Hello and welcome to On the Prowl. I'm your host Savannah Shepard, and with me today is the coach of the Hahnville Tigers, Coach Nick Saltaformaggio. Thanks for joining us, Coach.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up on today's show, Coach Salt will break down last week's game against the Woodlawn Panthers, and we'll get Coach to look ahead to this Friday's game against the Patterson Lumberjacks. Congratulations on your 41-20 win against Woodlawn Friday night. How did the weather delay change your overall game plan?
Well, Savannah, the big thing is just staying focused in the locker room. I mean, you know, you go through there with the sports med people. It was hot, it was wet. We went out, we had to come back in. We went back out, we had to come back in again. So, I mean, the big thing there is just to stay focused. What we did was we split our guys up. You know, we took our defensive kids in one meeting room and our offensive kids into another meeting room. And during one break, we kind of just showed some highlights, some action stuff, you know, big hits on YouTube and things like that. And then when we came back in the second time, we knew it would be a longer delay. So we actually just kind of sat in and started going back over the game plan on the board that we had put in during the week on the field. And I think that just kind of focused them on what we needed to do.
What are your goals for next game, seeing that you rushed 221 yards overall? Well,
I mean, that was good that we were able to get that kind of rushing total. You know, I think you run the ball to win the game. So we'll go back at it. We have a big offensive line that has become better as a unit over the last couple of weeks. And so I think that, along with some pretty good skill kids in Devontae Clark and Anthony Williams and Cade Miguez, it gives us a lot of options in the run game. So, I mean, we're going to keep using the weapons.
In the Herald Guide, you stated that the team improved from last year but still has work to be done. What other improvements would you like to be made for this season?
I'd like our backup kids to play better, to be honest with you. You know, we were up 41-6, and we started rotating a bunch of guys, and the final score was 41-20. But, you know, as far as our first group guys go, our kind of 1 and 1A guys, you know, we can be mentally better. You know, there were some missed assignments, both offensively and defensively, that I think as you go through the year, just through repetitive action at practice and in the ball games, you just naturally get better at it. But, you know, when you put those young guys in there, you'd like for them to account for themselves a little bit better on Friday night. And so that's a big point of emphasis for us, because hopefully, you know, they get to play in some other games as we go through the year.
Let's take a look at the first half highlights.
Right off the bat, defensively, I really felt like we played better than we had played in a long time. We were getting a lot of numbers to the football. As a Monte Jernigan, who came to us this past year, his dad coaches over at Tulane, and he's come in and become a very good player for us. You know, and then hopefully this duo continues throughout the year. Austin Perrin and Anthony, and then Austin on a quarterback sneak for a touchdown. You know, again, we had some nice drives during the course of the game, which is, you know, you want to play football and be able to drive the football. As a Monte, again, making a nice play on a pass out to the flats. Coming up there is Dylan Lewis, who was our toughest Tiger winner during the summer for our skill position kids. And then there's Devontae Clark, who may not be the biggest guy in the world, but has tremendous lower body strength running the football. And Austin hooking up with Michael Gray on a little seam route for us off of an RPO. You know, Austin again off some play action, rolling out, makes a nice throw to Jamel Bird, who makes a really fine catch, puts us in great scoring opportunity. And then this is just a nice pitch and catch from Austin to Anthony. Again, flipping back around. Looks like we had a lot of offensive highlights early. A screen pass to Devontae Clark, who is deceptively fast, and did a really nice job finding a crease after the catch on the screen, to get the ball down the field where we can run a little wedge play to Cade Miguez, and got great surge by the offensive line. This is just a really terrific play by Rashad Domino. Rashad actually had 2 interceptions in the game, and has really developed into an excellent defensive back. And then Anthony coming off a toss, lowering the bucket there, as they say, and picking up some extra yards after contact. And again, this is you know, a guy with special skills, just doing things that not a lot of human beings on this planet can do. And we go right back again, another inside zone play to Devontae Clark, and picks up a bunch of yards in the first half.
In the first half, you were up 20 points. How did you use this as an advantage for the game?
Well, to be honest with you, we were kind of angry at halftime, even though we were up 20 to I think it was 20-0, because we knew we had left some points on the board. We had a bad snap on the PAT, which cost us a point, and we had two drives that ended down in the plus 15, plus 12-yard area, and we should have come away with points there. So I think there was a little bit of frustration on our part in that aspect. But then defensively, we felt like we were playing really, really well. We were tackling better than we had tackled all year. And so, you know, I think it was just kind of two different locker rooms. The offensive guys were chewing the kids out because we should have finished a couple of extra drives. And the defensive guys were patting them on the back because they were really playing good defense. But we were still hungry at halftime. I mean, our kids knew that there was a lot of football left to play. And the funny thing about it is halftime, when we went in at halftime, that was usually the time that the game's over. In your body, it's 10 o'clock at night, and you're like, man, I'm tired, I want to go home. So we had to kind of rejuvenate them and tell them, look, it might be 10 o'clock at night, but you have a second half of football to play. So we really kind of focused on our energy level to get out and play that second half.
You previously stated that Woodlawn has a very similar defense to Hahnville's. How did you alternate the plays that needed to be called in order to score?
Well, I think the big thing is we were an odd front team, they're an odd front team. So we saw that look all week at practice, and the big thing is just really kind of executing the blocks at the line of scrimmage, which we did fairly well. And, you know, get on a guy you're supposed to block, keep your feet moving, you get your hands up inside the pads and push them around a little bit. And that really was the point of emphasis during the game. And because I don't think our play calling changed tremendously from last week to this week. Just the way we blocked the plays, you know, became more effective, and the holes were there, and we were able to run for a lot of yards.
In the Herald Guide, Anthony Williams stated that the offensive line blocked really well, which led to some really good plays. Would you agree with his statement?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, we're fortunate that we have some returning starters who've played a lot of football games. Drew Jones, our center, has been starting at Hahnville since he was a freshman, and he's a Southeastern commit, and he's having a really good last couple of weeks. And Tyler Fricky started for us all last year at left tackle, and he's having a really good camp. And, you know, then we have Torin Bourne, who started every game since his freshman year, and he's a junior, and he's having a really good season as we go through. And then, you know, we've got some other guys who have come in, like Ben Hargrave, and who's really stepped in for a senior that graduated last year, and Landon Cooper and Larry Dixon have come in, and you know, Michael Kindler and David Vial. We have a lot of depth in there. We have a lot of guys that can play. So when those guys are all kind of working together as a unit, they're hard to handle.
In the Herald Guide, you stated that your team played sloppy and that your team left 28 points out. How do you plan on improving your team's ability to get the most points out of their talent?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with us calling plays. You know, one of the things I do after the game on Friday night, even though I'm a defensive guy and I coach the defensive backs, you know, as a head coach, I'm responsible for every aspect of the team. So on Friday night when I get home, I'll pull up the tape and I'll watch our offense. And one of the unique things that I saw during the course of that game was when we got down into the red area, you know, the plus 20 in, the times we threw the ball 3 consecutive downs, we wound up coming out with no points, whereas the time we would mix runs up into our progression of play calls, we usually scored. So one of the things we worked on this week is not being so hungry. You know, when we get down there, your eyes get big and you just want to score quickly, and now we kind of have to slow it down a little bit, maybe pound them a little bit with Cade and Devontae, and, you know, it may open up some pass lanes for us in that respect. But I think a lot of it just had to do with, you know, we got a little greedy and got a little hungry, and we're trying to throw it and force it in there quickly instead of just finishing drives out on the ground.
Let's take a look at the second half highlights.
Again, starting out on offense, nice counter play. This is actually the very first play of the second half. And Devontae Clark takes it all the way. It was about probably, I think, a 78-yard touchdown run. And he had 135 yards rushing on the night on only 9 carries. We had a huge yards per average rush. And so I really felt good about that. And this is after a touchdown. We block an extra point. We're up 41-6 at this time. And we're starting to substitute some guys in there. And play a bunch of different guys. So it's like I said, you know, you kind of want to finish the game and feel good about yourself. But then we were bogged down, and we had to put our starters back in to get us out of a hole, and Anthony makes a play. And we put our backups in, and we don't get a first down, and then we got a punt. But we're lucky in that they fumble it, and Rashad Domino, who had 3 turnovers on the night, did a really, really good job for us, and gave us great field position after recovering that. And we went in, and we didn't score there. We actually did not score, had the ball on the 3-yard line. And that's one of those things where you have to learn how to finish. And then Anthony takes off on a long run on a speed sweep. And he's another guy that had 131 yards rushing on only 6 or 7 carries. So, you know, we had a nice night as far as big plays are concerned. This is Tremont Nash, who's going to be a really good player for us, junior running back. And then we get a touchdown late in the game there to give us the 41-6 lead by Jonathan. And, you know, our defense came up. And, again, we're playing a lot of our backup guys here. I got a young freshman on the field there, and Adonis Freelou, who comes up, makes a really nice play, and kind of finishes the game for us.
With this being your first win of the season, how do you plan to keep this winning streak alive?
Well, we want to win Friday night. You know, kind of our motto is go 1-0 every week. You know, don't think about what's coming up or, you know, what we've just done. Don't rest on your laurels, you know. So we look at Patterson this week as week 1 all over again. You know, we just want to get better at what we're doing, you know, and then if we can, you know, be fortunate enough to go on the road and play in a really tough environment. We're going to be playing on grass. It's probably going to be wet. The stadium's literally in the middle of a sugarcane field. It's not a real big place, so there'll be mosquitoes everywhere. And, you know, there's kind of outside elements of the game that you have to overcome. But if we're fortunate enough and the good Lord gives us the opportunity to win it, then we'll start all over again on Saturday morning and try to go 1-0 again the next week. And that's kind of our mindset.
There's been a big improvement since the Jamboree game. What have you done the past week to make such a big change?
It's just hard work, Savannah. You know, first of all, I'm not a big advocate of jamborees. I don't like them. We really don't prepare for them. You know, it's like I said last week, nothing good comes out of it. If you win, it doesn't count. If you lose, you feel bad, but it still doesn't count. And you don't want to get anybody hurt in a game that doesn't count. So, you know, what we really try to do as we get into August camp is prep for the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, not so much the scrimmage or the jamboree, because you want to have that improvement as you get into October, and then hopefully you're playing your best football end of October into November. And if you are, you know, you might be able to get into the quarterfinals or semifinals or state championship game. And, you know, we've been in those quarterfinals 2 years in a row, so it's kind of hard to change the way I approach the season because we've been successful. So, you know, I thought we'd play well. Friday night we did. I knew we'd have some areas of concern, and we did. And we're working on them this week, and hopefully we're better at those areas and improve greatly on the ones we're already good on, and then you become a good football team.
Williams ran a 93-yard handout for a touchdown. Do you think this ruined the other team's morale?
I just think, you know, no matter who you play, whenever you give up a big play, it hurts your morale. I mean, you're like, oh, man, you know, we got them stuffed down on the 7-yard line. We get them punting. It's a short field. We're going to flip field position, and all of a sudden, boom, there's a long run for a touchdown or a long pass for a touchdown. And, it, you know, it does hurt your morale on the other side of the field. But, you know, I think when it comes to Anthony, he's one of those guys that anytime he touches the ball, it could end up in the end zone. I mean, he just, unless he slips or makes a cut he shouldn't make and somebody can grab him, if he gets the ball in his hands, good things are going to happen for Hahnville. So that's just one of those instances where good things happen for Hahnville.
Thanks, Coach. Coming up next, we'll get Coach to look ahead to this week's game against the Patterson Lumberjacks. We'll be right back.
What can $5 do for you? It can buy you all-you-can-eat gumbo and jambalaya. It can get you hours of great live entertainment. You can even get fun and joy for the whole family. But what can those $5 do for someone else? They could help rebuild someone's house, or they could help better someone's health. $5 for you is an opportunity for someone else.
Welcome back to On the Prowl. I'm your host, Savannah Shepard. Last year, Hahnville topper Patterson 38-7. Do you think they have made the necessary improvements to be a challenge for your team?
Yeah, Patterson's always going to be a good football team. I mean, I think they were a state quarterfinal team in their classification last year. You know, the thing about Patterson for us is kind of like we were talking about before the break, is you're going to go into an environment that's completely foreign to us. You know, we're used to playing in big stadiums. Most of our games are on turf, and now we're going to go into really a small stadium. It's going to be a grass field. It's kind of an electric atmosphere because in Patterson, Louisiana on Friday night, there's not a whole lot to do, so you go to the Friday night football game. And there's some great players that have come out of there. The Hilliards played there. Dalton Hilliard, who played for the Saints way before you were born, is a Patterson graduate, and then he's had just a run of cousins and brothers that went through there and were great players. So they have a history that you have to battle as well, those kind of ghosts that are running around that stadium. And then just their natural talent. Patterson has always had tremendous skill kids. They're very, very big up front on the offensive line. They start a couple of guys that are in the 320-pound, 330-pound range. And that mixed in with some tall, lean kids that can run it. It's definitely going to be a challenge for us, you know. So we have to be up to the task. And another obstacle is our routine is thrown off. You know, we'll be leaving early on Friday. We're going to pull out of Hahnville about 3:45. You know, we're usually in our team prayer service at 3:45. So everything kind of moves up. Your body clock has to be different. You know, and then just getting there and getting acclimated to the conditions, and hopefully we can get the W.
What preparations will you be taking to take on Patterson this Friday in their home stadium?
I'm going to bring a lot of mosquito spray. That's my first preparation. You know, you know, we're working on wet ball drills this week because I think it's supposed to be wet Friday night. I don't know if it's going to rain, but it's supposed to rain during the day, I think Friday. We're playing on grass, so we've done a little bit of work on grass this week, or we will be doing it today. And, you know, I just think we've had a bigger emphasis on the run game because if it is wet and sloppy, it's going to be difficult to throw the ball all around. Another thing we have to work on is we've changed our kickoff return a little bit because people are now not kicking the ball down the middle of the field anymore. They're kind of condensing it into a third of the field. So, you know, working where we're not going to have any traction to get our cutback lanes open for us, we've had to change our kickoff return. So those are some things that we worked on this week.
In the Herald Guide last year, you stated, "We got our offense rocking in the second half." How do you prepare differently for a road game?
Well, everything's different when you go on the road, you know. So you work it into your practice schedules. You know, tomorrow when we go through our pregame preparation, we'll be on the visitor side of the field at Hahnville instead of being on our side of the field because we're going to be on the visitor side Friday night. We flip our kicks a little bit. Most teams kick to their own bench. You know, if they're a sideline return team, they're going to return it to their bench. They usually return punts to their bench. So everything we do tomorrow, we're going to work on the opposite side of the field because I'm that same way, and most of our game will be played that's on the hash mark on our side of the field, on the hash mark to our bench. So, you know, just a different perspective, and then, you know, getting those kids earlier in the day focused on what we have to do, and then you have the bus ride to go. One of the things I'm doing this year is I'm not letting them bring cell phones on the bus anymore because whether you're going or whether you're coming home from the game, those cell phones are a distraction to what you're trying to do, and that's win a football game. So that's, you know, that's going to be something new we're doing tomorrow, Friday night. So there are some different things that go into playing road games that you don't have to deal with when you're playing at home.
What else is coming up this season?
Well, after this one, you know, we have 3 really, really tough games in a row. You know, we're playing Riverside, who's a state runner-up, and then we're playing, you know, Destrehan the following week, and that is, you know, Destrehan Hahnville. And then the next week we're playing St. Thomas More in week 5, which was a state runner-up and really, really embarrassed us last year on the road. So those 3 games, I've really been pointing to those 3 games since last year, since the season ended, because those 3 games are going to dictate exactly how far this team can go, you know. And you don't want to continue. You don't want to get in a rut, Savannah, and we're kind of in that little. And it's a good rut. There's a lot of people. If you said, to a lot of high school coaches, "Look, you're going to be 9-4 in a state quarterfinal team," they'd sign a contract in a minute. But we've been that 2 years in a row, and we've been close in some games. And so now it's our time to see if it's our turn to be able to win those close games. And so we want to get through Patterson. We want to get through it healthy. We want to get through it with a win. And then we really have to kind of re-energize ourselves, because those next 3 weeks are going to be some really, really difficult opponents and some great high school football games.
So tell us about the Booster Club supporting the football team.
Well, we have a great group of Booster parents that do a lot of things for us. We have great team meals before every game, and our Booster Club not only serves them but buys it for us. We have annual fundraisers that we go through every year so they can raise money towards our program. Our Booster Club has put a lot of money into our new weight room, and so we meet every Monday night at 6 o'clock. We have a nice little meal, and we'll have some guest speakers come through. This coming Monday night, we'll have Coach Thompson, who's a defensive back coach at Nicholls State, will come by, and it'll be our seniors' introduction night, and they'll get a nice meal, and then we'll show some highlights of the past game, and we'll show them a little footage of our upcoming opponent. And it's just a good night, a good social night for some people who really go out of their way to support Hahnville football, and I can't thank them enough. But again, it's every Monday night in the Hahnville cafeteria at 6 o'clock.
Thanks for joining us, Coach.
Thank you, Savannah.
And that will do it for this week's edition of Hahnville on the Prowl. For updates and news on Press Play Productions, check out our website at presstoplay.tv. I'm your host, Savannah Shepard, and thanks for watching.